Good morning, traders, and welcome to the daily call. Today, Friday the 13th, a special edition for us. Before we do get started, please understand that any advice in this session is of a general nature only and that your personal circumstances have not been taken into consideration. All right, so let's have a look at what's happened overnight and the things that have occurred. Essentially, no major impact in revelations came from the ECB monetary policy meetings as the euro made ground on the US dollar but not against the yen. The euro seems to have found a bit of a bottom in the 103-106 range and looks possibly set to make a push towards the 110. This will, however, be largely dependent on the US dollar and more particularly on Mr. Trump's entrance to the White House, which is due to happen within 10 days from now. So that's what occurred overnight with the CAD. Essentially, the new house pricing index rose by 0.2%, a little bit under the forecast of 0.3 compared to the previous month. But the major impacting event that occurred last night on the Canadian dollar was, and I'll show it to you, essentially if I bring up a chart just to share with you for a moment, you can see that the market, I've gone into a 15-minute chart and you can see that the market was really pushing this region here, okay, and the more and more we tested it, we started to get a build-up of stop orders, and then essentially what happened was the break finally came through, and you can see in the way of these large candles, so in the space of a very short period of time, so we're talking about 2 candles essentially, really, so in half an hour session the market dropped about 60-70 pips and has recovered since, but that was the major impact in effect last night. The housing price index didn't really contribute too much to this movement, but I just thought I'd share that with you today. In New York overnight for the US dollar, a couple of current events. Unemployment claims were down from the forecast at 247,000, which is actually a good sign for the US dollar that there's less people claiming unemployment, so more jobs are available. We also did have the newest voting member for the FOMC, Mr. Evans, speaking, and what's more importantly, he did reiterate that he felt that there would be 3 further interest rate rises throughout this year. Now, of course, when a voting member speaks, it carries a little bit more influence because obviously he's got a vote in the say as to whether they raise rates or do not raise them. So that was the most important thing to come from that. The import prices came in at 0.4, a little bit under the 0.8. But all in all, really, the US dollar overnight lost ground against most major currencies, even though we had relatively good news in terms of data. The losses basically are still the effects of the Donald Trump speech from the previous night, and as basically a lot of investors are starting to dump stocks and movements just before he steps into the White House. Okay, so just keep an eye on that. The next 10 days could be a little bit of profit taking, a bit of losses and retracement for the US dollar, and we'll see what occurs from that. Time for the chart of the day. Today I have found us a Aussie CAD 4-hour chart, and as you can see from my chart that I'm showing you right here, I've marked out a level which has previously acted as supportive and then basically has come back and acted resistive. So we are right now at that same crucial level if I extend that all the way out, and the question remains, will it retrace back and offer us a trading opportunity? So let me zoom in closer so that we can all see it with a little bit more detail. And here we are, I've zoomed in. Now at that critical level, which is the grey area that I've marked here, Essentially, we can see that I've got a clear inside candle formation set up with my fractal up above there. Now, the way that we trade this, you would have seen this from yesterday's class, is at the break of this bottom candle, we would basically be sellers. Now, this one's actually already triggered, and at the time of me taking this screenshot, which is only about 15 minutes ago, basically if you were to jump in on the trade now, you're actually getting a little bit of a better entry. Your stop will be placed above that fractal somewhere there, and of course you're aiming to that this resistance level holds and that the market will basically retrace back for us. Okay, so a 2-to-1 type trade on this one would put a target somewhere around about here. Okay, so remember, as I always say, if you do get to your 1-to-1 level, make sure that you have addressed the issue so that you know what you've got to do, whether you're taking profit, moving stops, etc., etc. All right, so that's the trade of the day today, Friday the 13th, Aussie CAD 4-hour chart. So what's happening in the next session to come? It's actually a very, very filled session. We have Miss Yellen speaking very shortly at 11 o'clock. We have the trade balance, which is due to come out tentative, no scheduled time from China, so this will affect the Aussie dollar. We have a credit condition survey later this evening at 8:30 GBP, and also MPC member Saunders will be speaking. So interesting to see what he says about the monetary policy. After midnight, 12:30, core retail sales for the US. We have PPI numbers at the same time release, retail sales, and we have the preliminary consumer sentiment for the US at 2 a.m. Finally, we do have Mr. Harker speaking at 1:30, who's a FOMC member. Okay, so there's a lot of events happening in this session, so please take note. These times are all in my local time, which is Australian Eastern Standard Daylight Savings Time. And just remember, as always, if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our contact details are on the screen. Follow me on Twitter. You will get these alerts live. But most importantly, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Have a great trading day, and I will see you all on Monday's live session, or you can catch the daily call throughout the week. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.